What is going on, you guys? Alex Chasen back here with a brand new video, and today let's talk about Karl-Anthony Towns and the New York Knicks. I made a part one to this video a few days ago talking about everything involved with the Minnesota Timberwolves getting Julius Randle, Donte DiVincenzo, what the future of their franchise looks like, basically my entire take on that entire trade and what the future of their franchise is going to look like. So if you're interested in that side of the story involving this trade, go check that video out after this one. But today, we are discussing everything involved with the New York Knicks getting Karl-Anthony Towns and what the future of their franchise is going to look like. So first off, they get Karl-Anthony Towns. Yes, the New York Knicks get Karl-Anthony Towns. And we're going to be going through this, talking about some pros and some cons. The first pro is they get a man who is one of the best floor spacers, not only in the league, but at the center position. That is massive. When this trade first went down, I feel like a broken record. I've said this in a few videos now, but when the trade first went down and I clicked record and did my raw live reaction of this trade, I was like, the New York Knicks, who kind of lack a little bit of depth going when they go deep into their bench. Tibbs loves to run short rotations. They got rid of a possible Sixth Man of the Year candidate in Donte DiVincenzo. And of course, they swap kind of one for one two All-NBA, All-Star level players. Cat's peak is, of course, bigger than Julius Randle's peak at their best, but they're both All-NBA, All-Star players. But Donte DiVincenzo was one of the biggest pieces in my mind. I thought he was going to possibly win Sixth Man of the Year this year in New York. So when I saw that trade, I was like, why did the New York Knicks do this? Not why, but they're taking a little bit of a hit here. And I kind of was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But take that out of your mind. Yes, the New York Knicks do lose a great depth piece in Donte DiVincenzo, but if you look at it one for one with Julius Randle and Karl-Anthony Towns, a lot like I just said, Cat's peak is so much higher than Julius Randle, and he fits this team so well. So let's dive into these pros. They don't have to worry about the Julius Randle contract situation anymore. That was something that was going to loom over this entire franchise, ownership, and the fan base all season long. It was looming over them in the back end of last year. It was looming over them all summer. Was Julius Randle going to get his contract extension? It wasn't happening. They wanted to wait to next season. Ultimately, it looked like they were just really working on a trade behind the scenes, based off the report I saw from Shams saying this has been in the works all summer. So they've really, behind the scenes, been working on this entire deal. That's why there was no contract extension for Julius Randle. But my point is, they don't have to worry about that. A true championship team, they don't want to have a contract situation looming over them all season, especially in a market like New York. You know how many questions they're going to get about Julius Randle? Yeah, every week, every other week. Where's the contract talks at, guys? Where's it at? No one wants to deal with that. So not only do they not have the burden of Julius Randle's contract situation anymore, another pro, Jalen Brunson, took that massive pay cut this summer. Massive pay cut on his extension, which allowed them to afford this larger-than-life contract from Karl-Anthony Towns. Cat is making $50 million this year, $53 million a year after that, $57 million in 26-27, and he has a player option for $60 million in 27-28, and he'll probably opt out of that and make even more money depending on where he is in his play style, because he'll be in his early 30s then. But either way, he'll probably make more money, and he'll probably opt out of that, if not get a contract extension before that. And Jalen Brunson allows them to have this man on their roster right now. If it wasn't for Jalen Brunson, that trade would have been a lot more difficult, if not even possible. I would have to look at numbers a little bit deeper there, but it would have been almost impossible, or they would have had to give up more guys on that roster, and they cannot afford to do that. Not only does it help getting Karl-Anthony Towns, when Mikal is up next summer, they can pay him if they can pay him. Jalen Brunson allowed the New York Knicks a lot of cap flexibility, and it started with getting Karl-Anthony Towns on this team. So shout out to Jalen Brunson for being a team player. We don't see that too often. And one thing I talked about in a prior video I made over the summer is Jalen Brunson's mindset of taking a pay cut. Will that leak over to other players on the team? I don't know. I mean, guys have different values on wanting to get their money over winning, so it may not. Guys may want their bag. Like OG Anunoby got his bag this summer, a bag that was a very big bag. So maybe not everyone is going to take a pay cut, but maybe someone like Mikal will see Jalen taking a pay cut, or Karl-Anthony Towns on his next contract, seeing him take a pay cut. Maybe they'll be more likely to take a little bit less money than what they really are worth. I don't know. Everyone has a different opinion on what their money and what they want to do with that. But again, that's just a interesting thing that the star of this team is setting the tone there that other guys might follow suit. We'll see how that. And the Knicks are invested into this team. I mean, they have no choice but to invest in this team. At the end of the day, they are going to pay these guys, but maybe Jalen Brunson puts a little bit of, maybe I'll take a little bit of a pay cut to get a deeper bench for this possible championship run. Just a thought. Another pro. It answers the center questions. I mean, I made a video literally the day of that trade. It's still up if you want to go check it out. It's irrelevant now because I talked about Julius Randle, all that stuff. But either way, it's still up if you want to check out because the idea still exists. The center position was really concerning. Before this trade, it was Mitchell Robinson, who's out for the first 2 or 3 months because his injury has not healed properly from last year. Talk about like we expected that. It's just another, sadly, it's just another injury problem for Mitchell Robinson. So they answered that question because it was Mitchell Robinson, Jericho Sims, Precious Achiuwa, and Ariel Hukporti, who's a two-way guy. I did a little bit of research on him when I made my video a few weeks ago. Maybe he was going to get some run. That's how down bad the New York Knicks were. That they would have had to probably maybe get a two-way guy into this rotation because they had no answers, and Julius Randle would not cut it at the center position. But they don't have to worry about that. They get someone in Karl-Anthony Towns who, no, is not the greatest defender, but he brings a lot of size, but he spaces the floor better than any center in the entire NBA. I was watching the highlights of their preseason game yesterday, I believe. Yeah. And no, Cat's not the best defender, but he hit a three from about 3 feet behind the three-point line in the beginning of the game. Mitchell Robinson was not going to bring that. Julius Randle was not going to bring that. Again, he's not a bad shooter, but they get someone in Karl-Anthony Towns who's going to space the floor, which leads me to another pro. They have so many weapons around the court that can all shoot. Mitchell Robinson wasn't going to do that. Sims wasn't going to do that. Precious Achiuwa is a capable, but still not really trustworthy behind the arc. They put someone at the center position who can space the floor, which takes some pressure off Jalen Brunson. And also, you can kind of do 5 wide. If Jalen Brunson drives and kicks, you can trust that Cat's going to be there to hit a 3. You can't do 5 wide with Mitchell Robinson. He's going to be down low and clog the paint. That also could cause some problems for Jalen Brunson. So either way, the defense does take a little bit of a hit, but it also doesn't because you have Mikal, you have OG, you have Josh Hart, you have these great defenders around Jalen Brunson and Cat that it kind of makes up for their lack of defensive ability. And at the end of the day, Cat is still 7 feet tall. He's still a capable defender. He's just not great at it. He did have a great playoff run, though, on the defensive end, especially against Jokic. He played some of the best defense of his career, so he has it in him. It's just not really his specialty at the end of the day. So in the one preseason game, and I know it's just a preseason game, and we really didn't need to see a preseason game to evaluate this, but Cat opens up the floor so much. And something they could do is if they are lacking some defense and they realize Cat's just not cutting it, when Mitchell Robinson is healthy, depending on how long he's really healthy for, they can throw him at center and move Cat to the 4. Cat already proved he's capable of coexisting with a center on the court. He's had to do it with Rudy Gobert, and he did it to the max level last year with Rudy Gobert. It worked out really, really well. So we know Cat is capable of coexisting along with a center, and that just adds more defense to the lineup. I mean, you could have Brunson, Mikal, OG, Cat, and Mitchell Robinson. That defense is lights out at the end of the day. So I'm really excited to see Mitchell Robinson finally come back. But again, how long will he be healthy for? I don't know if he even comes back at all. It's annoying. And they had to figure that out. And they absolutely did that by getting Karl-Anthony Towns. They don't have to worry about the center position as much now. It's still a little bit concerning, especially if Cat's not cutting it on the defensive end. But again, he's not terrible. And then the offensive ability he brings they're competing with the Celtics. I mean, that's how good this team can be. They're competing with the Boston Celtics and any team out west. Now let's transition into some cons of this deal. And there's really not any major cons. It's just some things to keep your eye on. One of them, I kind of already touched on it, so I'm not really going to go too deep into it. It is Cat's defensive struggles. He's not the greatest defender. He did have a really good playoff run, especially against the Nuggets on the defensive end. He put his heart and soul into that series, but still, it is a concern on the defensive end, especially when you're going up against some great big men in the Eastern Conference, whether that's Kristaps Porzingis when he's healthy, that being Giannis, that being Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo. There are some great big power forwards and centers that Cat's going to have to deal with. And if he can't deal with it, that's going to be a concern at some time in this season, especially come playoff time. That's why you really, really want to see Mitchell Robinson become healthy, because Cat isn't dealing with Giannis. He's not dealing with Embiid. He's not dealing with Bam that well. He's not going to deal with these big power forwards and centers too well. So you really want to see Mitchell Robinson come back. So that is a little bit of a concern of mine, is Cat versus these big guys in the Eastern Conference. In the same vein of Cat and Mitchell Robinson, the offensive glass. Karl-Anthony Towns is not an offensive rebounder. He averaged around 1.5 offensive rebounds a game last year, where on the contrary, Mitchell Robinson, when he was healthy and active, he averaged around 5 offensive rebounds per game. Something the Knicks do really, really well, and this might change a little bit this year with a little bit of a new identity, bringing Cat in there, is they weren't going to put up the most points on the scoreboard, but they were going to buy in, all into the defensive side of the ball, and that won't change. Tibbs is going to make sure Cat buys in the best he can. The defense won't change, especially with high-powered guys like Mikal, Josh Hart, and OG. So that's not really my point. My point is the offensive end was never great, that they had to do all the hustle plays by crashing the glass, crashing for balls on the ground, making all those hustle plays. Are we going to see that same intensity? I'd assume so with guys like Mikal, Hart, and OG. But when it comes to that center position, guys that are going to grab those second chance opportunities, those boards, Cat's going to have to step it up on that glass, especially with Mitchell Robinson's absence for the first 2 or 3 months, because he was the guy cleaning up the glass on the offensive side of the ball and getting second chance opportunities. My last 2 things I want to talk about on the con list, and I really hate saying cons because this team did get better. They bring in a bona fide star, a bona fide one of the best shooters of all time, centers. I hate really saying con because they do get better in the grand scheme of things, but there's a few things to keep your eyes on. Another one is they do sacrifice depth. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo, getting rid of him, there's no other way around it. They sacrifice depth to the point where now Josh Hart slides into the starting lineup with Robinson out, and you have Deuce McBride, Precious Achiuwa, Cameron Payne, Tyler Kolek, Landry Shamet. Those are like their guys off the bench. And I'm assuming they won't even, Tibbs won't even go to Tyler Kolek. He won't even really go to Cameron Payne. So it's really going to be Deuce McBride, Precious Achiuwa, Jericho Sims, maybe a little bit of Landry Shamet because yesterday he showed his shooting ability, which we know he has, and I'm sure Tibbs likes to see that. But again, Tibbs isn't going to go too deep into the bench. And when you get rid of one of your best bench players, you're sacrificing a lot there. But again, I don't want to nitpick. I feel like I'm nitpicking. I'm not. But like their lineup that they were running yesterday, just to see how things were in the second unit, was Deuce McBride, Jericho Sims, Landry Shamet, Cam Payne, and Precious Achiuwa. I loved seeing Precious Achiuwa not playing center and him being that power forward. A lot better for his size, even though he's undersized at the 4 anyways. But it was great to see that. And hopefully they can actually utilize a lineup like that with a mismatch of putting Cat in there at times, keeping Brunson, Mikal, OG, whatever it may be, Josh Hart. I just like seeing those guys get some run. Tyler Kolek looked pretty good as well. Again, Tibbs probably won't go that deep, but if he needs to, it's good to see that those lower bench tier guys might be capable of a little bit of something, but still, it's definitely depleted, which leads me to a rumor I saw. No big source. It wasn't Shams, who just got hired by ESPN today. Shout out to him. He definitely got a major bag for taking over for Woj. But either way, it wasn't from anyone like that. But there might be interest for the New York Knicks to get Marcus Smart. I don't know how that would work. Don't even want to discuss it. But imagine if they get Marcus Smart in there. Yes, that would fix a lot of their bench issues, from defensive identity to whatever it may be. Just a rumor. I don't really think it's going to happen because I don't know where that money's going to come from. But it'd be kind of interesting to see that. That's all I'm going to say on that. I just saw that rumor. So anyways, it's going to be interesting to see how Tibbs figure this out. I guess my last little thing I can say is it's going to take some time. I think the Knicks could easily be the first seed in the East, but they have a new identity to figure out. So it might take some time to see the best version of the New York Knicks. So don't be surprised if the Knicks are more like that 3 to 4 seed in the East, but come playoff time, they're acting like that 1 or 2 seed. They just have to figure out this adjustment period. So anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video, and let me know down in the comments below, what is your opinion on the new look New York Knicks with Karl-Anthony Towns because, yeah, they're the team in the East that can beat the Boston Celtics. If there's one team, it's the New York Knicks. Anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. I'll see you guys very soon, and like always, peace out.